Hello, everyone. My name is Matthew Allen, and welcome back to the What a Thought podcast. I'd been delaying starting this morning. It's probably the earliest I've recorded in a while. It's like 10 a.m. I've been up since like 8. Um, there are folk upstairs recording, which is why I'm up so early, because they needed to be able to get into this particular space. But it's all good. It's all Gucci. You know, it's not going to delay me from doing the things that I do. Because it's just what I do. I swear, there are thoughts behind my eyes, but my eyes do already feel like closing again, which is not good. It's not good at all. Alright, what do I have in here? What are some of the thoughts that have occurred? Obviously, I would like to firstly, respectfully, uh, pay respects to one Mr. Robbie Coltrane, who has passed away recently. He's better known for playing Hagrid in the Harry Potter franchise. I've seen a few other movies here and there that he has been in or has provided voice work to. And Harry Potter was a big part of my childhood growing up. I'm in a Slytherin house. Woo woo. Um, so it's a weird moment to kind of see someone you essentially like helped mold part of your existence as a child uh, pass away. You know, I finished reading the first Harry Potter book for only the second time in my life. Was that 3 weeks ago? At after 3 weeks ago, yeah. Date of the release of this, tomorrow, Monday. Recorded on Sundays. So it's weird. It's weird, but I'm sure he's in a better place. I'm sure his family with time will heal and understand that this is just the process of life. So yeah, I wanted to start with that. Harry Potter is a big part of my life. It's a big part of my older siblings' lives. We're all nerds. We all loved the Wizarding World. Both of them, I believe, read the books. I've only made it through 2 of the 7 books, which is part of why I'm doing it on What a Book in order to try and get through them all. So, may he rest in peace. I've been trying to do more reading on my own personally. Obviously, in classes, I don't have the time particularly to pick up a full-sized book like the ones that I read on What a Book. So I've been aiming more at comics. I've gotten through a good couple. I made it through the first 2 volumes of Umbrella Academy, which was quite interesting. The departures from the show are very evident, but I think it still stands its own unique thing. Its art style is different and intriguing, and I do like that. What else did I read? I read the first issue of The Walking Dead comic. I didn't know that comic was in black and white. It's a very interesting choice to not colorize it, but also knowing what occurs in that comic and how much death and gore there is. I think it's the right choice to not colorize it in any fashion, to leave it in black and white. Seems like the correct thing to do. Can you tell my voice is tired? It's not warmed up at all. I usually try to exist with people for like an hour before I record this, but I can't exist with those people for an hour because they're doing work. I read the first issue of Kick-Ass. That's a fun one. I've seen the first movie. I've never seen the second one. I never heard good things about the second one. Mark Miller, John Romita Jr. I've got the second volume sitting next to me because I've been trying to get through it, but my brain is just very slow. It happens. It was bound to happen. I'm just a very slow reader, and that's the consequence. But yeah, I'm trying to get through it. I think it's fun. I think it's going to be fun. It seems to be fun so far. I enjoy the style. I enjoy the world that they built. I'm intrigued by what the outcome of this comic is going to be like, because the first one was pretty 1-to-1 with the movie. For those who haven't seen the movie Kick-Ass, a kid decides, why don't I be a superhero? And then gets his butt whooped. And then because of that, he ends up with a bunch of like metal implants to his bones and stuff, so he doesn't feel pain as easily. So he can take more hits, meaning he can stand longer in a fight, so that he still decides to continue to be a superhero. And ends up interacting with some significantly more violent heroes and stopping a mob boss. It's pretty solid. Uh, I believe the actor's name is Aaron Taylor Johnson, who plays Kick-Ass in those movies. He was Quicksilver in the MCU, so aka for one movie. And then I think also Evan Peters, the Quicksilver from the X-Men movies, is in that movie as well as like just his friend that shows up for a bit. And I think that's kind of funny, seeing two Quicksilvers share the screen. But yeah, no, I've been checking them out from the campus library. It's kind of weird. I've been able to, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, I've been able to like use the old bookmarks that I have, which is so wild. Like this bookmark I have here currently, it is 7 years old. It was a bookmark I picked up because the person who designed it was a friend of mine. They were entering a bookmark design contest, and they made this back in middle school, and they were the first place winner for the middle school category, and I thought that that was insane. And like obviously, being 7 years old, coming from middle school, like it's not the most outrageous thing you've seen. It's not like the greatest, like top notch, like top tier stuff, but it's still so cool to have someone win something like that, and then being able to keep the bookmark in such almost a pristine condition for 7 years. It's I think that's cool. That's some of the weird but interesting things of whatchamacallit of reading. And no one gets, you don't really, you lose a lot of that sometimes when you read online. I can't do reading online. I think it's awful. I need to be able to feel the page to know that I've accidentally reread the same line because I'm not moving. Um, the smell of a book, the feel of a book. I have a bookcase now, and ironically, it's not filled with any books at all. But yeah, books, nerd stuff, all that. It's a big chunk of my life. Big chunkerinos. Yeah, I built a bookshelf. It sits behind me. Not behind me. It's often like the side. But I needed a better space in order to hold all the games and movies that I have, because the way what I originally had them on was like a little like plastine table, like the kind that if I was to put my body weight on it, it would snap it. So it was only meant for holding items, and it was sitting in like piles, so I'd have to like dig through a pile and hope the pile didn't fall over, and like that was getting tedious because obviously like once I pick out a game, I keep it out so that way I don't have to keep going back to the pile. But I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. So eventually I was just like, I'll just not. I'll just do my thing, right? So that's what I'm doing. I got a bookshelf now. I can see everything I have a lot easier. I can take it out. I can put it back in a lot easier. It's in ABC order because I'm insane. And it just makes it really, really easy for me. I know it's a very weird thing to want to talk about, to be like, oh yeah, it's really easy, for me to be able to have this bookshelf, because I know obviously, like, that's such a, as people like to say, and I sometimes think it's a dumb phrase, but sometimes it's accurate. It's such a first world issue to be like, oh yeah, let me get this bookshelf, you know. I don't know if you can hear that. I think they're either on the other side of the wall or the other side of the door. And it's quite funny. But they are everywhere. Yeah, so I've hidden away to record for a bit because, I need to get this done. May as well, I'm awake. The only thing they're really delaying is my ability to vacuum, which is disheartening because I was kind of looking forward to vacuuming today. I got some of the styrofoam that was protecting the bookshelf on the floor, and I want it cleaned. Stuff like that annoys me. I like to keep things clean. Uh, I'm not a fan of letting things just sort of sit. I can't do dirty. I can't do dirty dishes. I've got to sweep up after myself. I need to mop. I have to clean bathrooms. Like there's a whole method of my madness that exists in the back of my head. And one of those methods is that things cannot remain dirty for an extended period of time. I despise that. I despise that greatly. Yeah. There's this part of me that wants to listen in, but I know better than that. uh, what else? I guess now I can actually maybe turn to my notes. No, I won't turn to my notes yet. what did I watch that I wanted to mention? I saw the fourth Fast and Furious movie for the first time. I've been a fan of the franchise. I've thought I'd seen the majority of the movies, but movies 4, 5, 6, I essentially caught on television bits and pieces of. I never formally saw them, like beginning to end. So in my head, I assumed I knew everything, and I did not. I did not know everything. Laz Alonso was in there. He's like a minor villain. It's so odd. If you don't know who that is, he's more recently known for playing the character MM or Mother's Milk in The Boys on Amazon Prime. Not a sponsor. So yeah. Oh, oh my gosh. Sorry, I'll finish this out, and then I remember the other two majorly important things I was supposed to mention. Um, one, movies kind of boring. You can tell there's an increase in budget. There's better camera work. There's better stunts, but it's kind of boring. So that's me finishing at that because I love the Fast and Furious franchise, and I'm sure one of these days I'll have to do some stupid review of all the movies once I see them all, and it's gonna take years off of my life, but it'll happen. But no, I nearly forgot that I needed to acknowledge that by this point it should have happened day of recording. So while I'm talking here now, it should occur, but obviously this comes out the next day. But there's a new profile picture. There should be a new profile picture. There should be a new name. It should no longer just be my name. For Whatta channel. That's what it's becoming. Because I didn't know what better way to circle around and be like, okay, well, we have What a Book and we have What a Thought. What am I gonna call it? Because originally when it was just What a Thought, I could have called it What a Thought. And when I added What a Book, it complicated things because obviously I can't call it What a Thought. But What a Channel, it's not too bad. Originally it was gonna be the channel was gonna get its name changed to What a Channel, and the image was just gonna say Whatta, but that felt not correct, which might have just been me. It might have just been me that thought that, but I was like, that doesn't feel right. Uh, so the image that I worked on with good old Kingsley, friend of the channel. If you guys haven't, if you aren't already aware, every image you see almost everywhere is Kingsley's doing. The only one that isn't came from my friend Gretchen. They did the soloist image that you see over on the other YouTube channel, and they are also responsible for the Be Right Back image that is over on the Twitch. That I still think is very adorable. There's a little me sitting on one of the letters. He's so very small. But yeah, everything else is a Kingsley design because I don't have enough time in the day to make graphic designs for all the things that I do. And I also don't have enough of an income to go pay anyone, Kingsley included. And that makes me feel awful. And one of these days, as much as they've told me multiple times that they just enjoy having the opportunity to create those stuff and don't need to be paid, I'm going to pay them because it's a lot of work and it's a lot of time and it's a lot of effort, and they're very kind to be doing this for me when they could easily say no. they could very easily just be like, oh, you're a cool friend, but no, I'm not going to do this anymore. And I'd be like, that's understandable. Sad, but understandable. But they continue to do it every time. It's honestly the greatest help that I could ever inquire is this this aspect. Graphic design is not my forte. I'm very bad about it. But yeah, so that's the change to this channel that's occurring. The other thing, if I should probably have put up the post by now because I've been delaying it for like multiple days. But obviously, if you caught the past Saturday stream, I've officially made it to affiliate status on Twitch, which is so crazy to me. If you don't know what that is, obviously when you start out on Twitch, you're just a regular, Twitch streamer. But once you reach a certain set of requirements, you are invited to become an affiliate. Affiliate status just means that I can do things like run ads. I can earn money from what I'm doing. People can donate to me. I can have subscribers and not just followers, which is like a paid tier that I don't know how to set up yet, but I will figure it out. Yeah, it's just, it's weird. It's interesting. It's very intriguing to me. Obviously, I've been on Twitch for just barely over a year now. So to have, to really grind through a year and be able to hit this mark, this opportunity. I know I'm sure if probably I put more effort into advertising myself out there or something, it probably would be more well received. But I've been having a good time, and it really means a lot to get to this status, to get to this moment, because I've really been working for it, and I've made it, and I think that's great. I'm glad I finally get to share it with you guys, and inform you that I've hit that point. Obviously, the hope is to just keep on grinding, keep on going. I received a question. Someone had asked me, like, what is the purpose? Like, what am I hoping to do with my streaming? And well, they they asked and then they never responded. But I'll say what I said to them, and that the whole intent of what I do with What a Book, not so much What a Thought. This is more just because I wanted to do this one. But What a Book, the gaming YouTube channel, the Twitch streams, the whole intention is to be able to get things out there to people who they themselves might not be able to get those things. When I grew up, I didn't have access to fancy computers. I still barely have access to a proper computer. This computer will explode if I do certain things. I didn't have access to all the fun consoles, like none of that. And I still struggle to maintain the things that I do have. But I had YouTube as a kid. I was able to watch people play games that I never would have heard about. I was able to learn new things, gaming wise. I learned the Konami code. I got to learn about comics, and I wouldn't have been able to do any of that if there weren't people out there creating that content so that people could see it. And I know the structure of YouTube has really moved away from long format videos. It's really moved away from people playing full games. It's a lot more edited down content, and I think that's never been. I don't think that's a fair view to a viewer. Obviously, those people might edit in their mistakes, but I think it's better to be transparent. My intention isn't like, oh, look at me play a game. It's, hey, let's watch this game. You can watch this game, and it's almost as if you're playing it. You make mistakes, you miss things. You're human. The whole intention is that a new generation of young people who might not have access to these things, who maybe don't have the patience, don't have the willpower, maybe they just are physically incapable of doing those things. It's like they can have the opportunity to see it. They can get that chance. That's what I hope to get out of this. That's what I hope to do here. I read the books because I have issues with focusing. I can't focus, especially when I try to read. But I've always been able to read to others. I've always been able to do the funny voices, and it helps me get through a book in which I never thought I would get through the book. And it also helps me really delve into the world of that book, having to do the voices, having to have fun with it. Obviously, something like Harry Potter, when I read that's a pre-established fiction. There are certain voices people have attuned to that reading. So like I do that, and it helps me, it makes me think about the movies again. It makes me think about like the Wizarding World and Universal, like all that fun jazz, like all of it. And it helps you feel connected, When I play the games, some of these games no one's asking for. Some of these games I'm just intrigued about. But I know I might be one person, but there's billions of people out there. There's probably someone else who's also intrigued, someone else who maybe couldn't get this game, and then now they get to have it. So yeah, that's what I hope to do. That's what I'm really hoping I can make of this. Is that, I don't want to. My intent isn't to go be famous. I don't want to go be some famous person whose whole thing is I play games, or I don't want to be some famous person who's like, a personality. My hope is that I can just maintain enough so that people can see these games that they want to see. They can hear these books that they might not get the chance to read. If a kid has trouble focusing on reading the book, it's a lot easier to pop in some earbuds and walk around while someone else reads it to you. That's the fun of audiobooks, I'm pretty certain. But yeah, that's what I'm hoping that I'm able to do with this. So now that I've got all that out, I don't know. It's like I have like what 10 minutes left. I would just oh, they're real loud up there. Let's see, what do I have on here? The Legend of Vox Machina. Ooh, I watched that with my friends upstairs about a month and a half ago. If you don't know Vox Machina, it starts out. It began its life uh, as Critical Role, which is a D&D session that was filled with voice actors, hosted by one of my two most favorite male voice actors, Matthew Mercer. He was their DM, which stands for Dungeon Master. If you don't know Dungeons and Dragons, it is a tabletop role playing game. People create fictional characters and they enter a fantasy world and are able to what's the words I'm looking for? Essentially, live out a life as adventurers, helping people, saving towns, villages, kingdoms, fighting enemies, slaying monsters. I know there's a weird stigma against Dungeons and Dragons that emanates from, the late '80s, where Satanic Panic was probably at its most prevalent. Uh, I've seen some of the articles from that time, and they're always so funny to me. I saw a couple years ago. My friend was playing. We were playing D&D, and his grandmother found out that he was playing D&D, and so he came home one day, and she had a bunch of like articles of like things that occurred to people who played D&D, like sitting on the table, and he actually read through some of them and saw that they were the dumbest things he'd ever read. There was one article that tried to like claim that a girl lost her life because people were playing D&D, and essentially the article boiled down its information and stated about that there was a young girl in some town somewhere, I don't know where, who had been murdered, and 3 houses down were a group of kids playing Dungeons and Dragons. They had no connection to what occurred, but they just so happened to be playing Dungeons and Dragons the night that she died. So they were like, they did it. Like, they're the ones responsible. They used demon magic to force someone to go kill that girl. And it's like, what? That's not how that works. That's not how that works at all. There was another one where it was like, oh, this person has been found dead. And in the town over, it was a national convention of D&D or something. That one I'm making up. The previous one was a genuine article. But just stuff like that. And I was like, that's so ridiculous. But yes, Dungeons and Dragons. But Critical Role is very popular. It started off its life. I'm still in its like infancy of trying to listen to it because it's Dungeons and Dragons. Every episode of their podcast / stream is like 3 hours long, 4 hours long. It's crazy. But it got picked up by Amazon to become a show, and that became The Legend of Vox Machina. And it's a lot of fun. I really liked it. There was a student who in my intertextuality class discussed how there's a lot of certain images that appear in the show that are then either killed off or they appear in a fashion that is not usually how it's presented in earlier fiction, to purposely prove a further point. And I thought that was interesting. They talked about how they were specifically using it in comparison for like, what is that, Lord of the Rings. I've never seen Lord of the Rings. I've never read Lord of the Rings. But like they showed the first image and I knew instantaneously. I was like, oh, that's a Lord of the Rings reference. I was like, I know those designs. I've seen those people. And those characters show up just to immediately get slaughtered. They get absolutely brutalized. This particular student, they continued on. They talked about how like usually the images of industrialization that occur in fantasy novels such as The Lord of the Rings are connotated with being with the bad guys, and like images of like nature and things like that are usually associated with the good guys. Battle of the Ents. Whereas in Vox Machina, it's significantly more nuanced take. One of the members of Vox Machina, that is the name of the group, his name is Percy. He's built a gun. He's in the universe of Vox Machina. He is the first person to ever build such a weapon. And usually a sign of industrialization like that is associated with evil, and the weapon does eventually at a point get associated with evil, but not because of the bearer, but because of like what the bearer's intents with it are. He's seeking revenge. His family's been murdered, and like it's not that industrialization it is evil in itself. It was that the nuance of what industrialization was for, and I thought that was interesting, you know. And the same with, you know, the what's the word I'm looking for, like nature. Nature magic comes into play. It helps win the day, but it isn't the only thing that helps win the day. And I think that that's a very interesting thing. So yeah, I do enjoy Legend of Vox Machina. It got renewed for a second season and then greenlit for a third, which I think is hilariously fantastic. But yeah, very excited. It's a good show. It re-sparked my love for D&D, because I hadn't played for years, and I really missed it. So now I'm currently DMing a campaign on Friday. So I am the dungeon master for a group of my friends. We're currently going through the Curse of Strahd, which is one that I think was published by Wizards of the Coast back in the 80s or 90s, and then they revamped it for the 5th edition of Dungeons and Dragons, which is the current edition. And I do not know what will happen when we hit 6th edition, if that ever is to come. But they've revamped it for 5th edition, and that is essentially you're sending the adventurers into a world that is under the curse of a vampire, and you're trying to help free the town, the land. I don't know what you would consider areas like that with a map as big as the map is. But it's quite cool. It's quite fun. There's lots of dangers. There's lots of intrigue, lots of sad. And it's just a joy to be able to get through those moments, you know, role-playing, coming up with character names, character voices, which is horribly difficult at times. My brain sometimes fumbles the bag. But I think they're having fun. They haven't said otherwise. But yeah, no, like, you know, Legend of Vox Machina, that particular student's whole presentation really revamped my love for the craft. My love for the craft. No, my love for D&D, because it's a fun game. I know there's a lot of stigmas associated with it because of Satanic Panic. It's so funny that of all the things to get labeled with that, it's the game where most of the characters spend their time killing demons and saving lands. I really don't get how it got to such a negative outlook. But apparently it does, and it doesn't make any sense to me. But obviously that has changed in the more recent times. Like, it's a more widely accepted thing. It shows up in media a lot more, oftentimes in, what's the word I'm looking for? Period pieces. Oftentimes in period pieces of the 80s, you'll see a lot more, like in modern shows, you'll see a lot more characters playing the game. And sometimes at some point they usually use some form of through line where it's like, yeah, people are believing that this has occurred because of this, and that's not the case. I think Stranger Things, their most recent season, half of the season was spent on the people believing that a death that had occurred was because of the members of the Hellfire Club, which was the D&D club at that school. So like D&D's getting a resurgence. It's spreading more massively, and it's just a fun time. It's a good time to enjoy with your friends, to kick back, to be someone you're not, to be an additional hero of another story, because I would never say that people aren't the heroes of their own story. You are. Everyone out there who can think, who can breathe, who can make choices, you are the heroes of your own story. And don't ever let anyone make you feel lesser than that. Never let anyone make you think that is not the case, because you are. You are the hero, and you just need to keep on being that. So yeah, that's where I'm gonna go ahead and leave off for today. Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for joining me for the What I Thought podcast. If you liked it, make sure to check out everything else. Obviously, What I Thought alternates with What a Book. Last week we started Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Titan's Curse. Or if you, for some reason, want to see my face, you can always check out the gaming channel, The Soloist. Over there, there's a video going up every single day, and you will, you can make requests If you leave a comment, you can be like, hey, can you play this game? And if I get the chance to acquire that game, I will. Some games have been asked for, and I've been able to get them out there. I was able to get out a Need for Speed game that had been requested. Someone requested Five Nights at Freddy's, and I think I'll die before that one happens. Cooking Mama, like Superstar, Cookstar or something. It's something new. I think I saw it was on the PlayStation. And if I ever have actual money again, I could go play that, Or if you want to see me play games and interact live, you can always check out the Twitch stream. All of this stuff is located in the Linktree link that's in the description. You just click that, it'll pop up everything, as well as my social medias. I'm on Instagram and Twitter, and I think I'm supposed to be starting a Reddit to try and help gain some more traction, because I do need a little bit of that. I do need more viewers. It would vastly help me out. But yeah, thank you guys so much. I've been Matthew Allen. This has been the What a Thought podcast, and I will see you when I see you.